Coming back from the break, it's called the Business to Business Network Show. My name is Rex Perry. I'm the host and creator of the show. We are talking a cryptocurrency concept that is actually an opportunity to make money and do good at the same time. Again, Aaron, introduce yourself, please.
My name's Aaron Remer. I'm the founder of Giveback.
And again, Giveback, describe, it's a cryptocurrency that you can actually buy, and then as trades happen, you guys collect a fee, and then half of that fee goes to help.
Direct aid, direct impact through our community, through anybody we want to help. We're a community, governance by the community itself. We make decisions through polls, what we're going to impact. And one of the visions was to build the largest humanitarian aid in the world using crypto as a tool to move the money instantly and impact lives everywhere.
And let me tie that into my book that I wrote. It was based on the shoulders and the research done by Hernando de Soto. I want to make sure I always give him credit. And the concept is that he was an economist doing research about the developing world and what were the hurdles. And he realized that Canada, United States, Australia, New Zealand, and most of Europe are relatively stable because they have survey maps, individual ownership of property, public records of who owns what, and property taxes. It's a foundation that's built our country and other countries to bring stability. When you go to Mexico, not so much. They've got survey maps, but they're kind of old, and to get access, you have to be a notary, from what I understand. I mean, it's not something that's digitized. Here in the United States, you haven't been in real estate. You can punch in somebody's address, and within seconds, you know who owns it, who owns that property, and if they pay their property taxes. Very beneficial. When you're trying to sell real estate, creates a market.
Absolutely. Chain of title is so important.
Chain of title.
You see all these lawsuits when you can't prove chain of title. People, suing people saying, claiming ownership. A cloud encumbrance on the title. But, with the systems that they use, it's pretty easy to protect. And you hear about people trying to steal real estate.
Yeah. But they catch them because there's a paper trail. And even digitize is even better because now you can research it. You can search it very quickly. I started as a title officer many years ago, way before the internet. And we had to go down. In fact, I worked in Utah County when I was going to BYU. And we would go down to this county courthouse, everybody, that was built in the 1800s. And we pull out these huge abstract books. And we would go to chains, links, and rods to figure out where we would start at the U.S. patent and research that title and the boundaries of the title and the surveys all the way to present day, making sure that there were no liens.
I don't even think they had the map grid books in these countries. No. Remember the map grid book? How we mapped everything in the early days and having all the real estate on a piece of paper?
Exactly.
They don't even have that.
So my point is, in Mexico, without having this invisible infrastructure, or Central America, South America, Africa, Philippines, it's frustrating. It's difficult because you really don't know who owns what. And when you don't know who owns what, nobody can pay property taxes. The government can't collect property taxes. They don't know who to collect from. And so property taxes become the very stable revenue collection for the community because you can't pick up a large piece of property and sneak away with it at night. It's there all the time. And if you don't pay your property taxes, they're going to go find somebody that will. And that's how the revenue, it becomes steady. Now, my concept is using the smartphone app and Google Maps. And a lot of people don't know this, but you can click, if you're ever on Google Maps, do a little right click. And actually, when you click on the property, you can get a longitude and latitude at that very point. Now, that accuracy was about 3 feet. Pretty good. So you can literally be in Arizona looking at Mexico, and you can do a rough land survey of this longitude marker and latitude, go 100 feet to the north-northeast. You know what I'm saying? And then you can track that like I used to do with these abstract books. I would have to draw it out. Now you're doing it online with Google Maps, and people can basically register that pattern, that footprint, that property, saying, hey, I've lived here for 30 years. Here's a picture of my hut, and I'm going to claim ownership. And they call that as-is survey. In other words, it may not be a record of it, but this is what it is. And then the surveyors later come in and verify all the points and register it, and then the government recognizes it. But at least you start the process. Your thoughts on that?
It's amazing. Early crypto, they talked about digitizing real estate where you could buy real estate, cars, and anything and everything. And our currency, we're going to be doing that, using it as a currency. And the thing is with what they're doing, nobody wants to buy something if there's no no need for it, or there's no known use for it. But
Right.
when we can establish a way to trade that property with a new currency, and people start picking up on it, it becomes a movement, just like PayPal or Zelle.
Yeah, exactly.
People start using it.
And GBack can do this because we can reach into. Let's brainstorm for a second. In 2.5 hours, we could be in Mexico driving there. That's how
Rocky
close it
point.
is. We could be down in Nogales or someplace, and get some friend contact on the other side. We could help them understand how we get started, and they could do their property first, and they could see the value. Because guess what? They may have lived there. In Mexico, they have squatter rights. And you have individuals that literally been living on a piece of property for generations, and nobody has title to the property. That is very common in Mexico. Very common. And by the way, in Mexico, the way it works is you have to keep a fence around your property, and you have to put up gates, and you have to get dogs, and you have to get people checking on your property, because if anybody is able to sneak in and build a house or build a hut, you're going to have a heck of a time getting them off because they have squatter rights. Tell you a quick story. I had a nurse that was from Guadalajara, and I was telling her about this book, and she said, I had a brother. She lived here. My brother lives still in Guadalajara, and he had to come up to Arizona to do some work for 6-9 months. And he asked our sister to keep an eye on his house, and she got busy or something happened. By the time he got home, total strangers had moved into his house. They went and got a constable or a police officer, watched them kick the door in because it had been abandoned for 90 days. It was just 3 months. And he authorized them to move in. Now, when the guy got back down to Mexico, he had to go find that same police officer, and the police officer mediated him getting his house back. That's how that was done. And he had to pay the people to move, and they took the refrigerator, washer, and dryer, anything that wasn't nailed down. So that's how Mexico is.
Wow. And so you were telling me on our call, you might have a solution to this problem. And
Yes.
I was very inspired, and I told the team, and I said we could have discussion about how to build it. We have some pretty big partners that can develop a lot of things you were talking about.
And I'm thinking also with the GBack coin, you could get individuals in Mexico being paid with GBack. When they go to pay a property tax, they pay it with GBack. It becomes common currency for that neighborhood. Again, just almost like a barter club. Other businesses now say, "Oh, I got a GBack coin. I can get a debit card. Let's start using GBack instead of the currency of the peso."
Correct. This is decentralized, which means governments can't control it.
Yeah.
So when you inspire a movement or you create something that uses a currency that people have perceived value of, people are going to use it.
Yeah.
The perceived value of our coin could be massive. And we're digitizing assets now. We have ETFs with art, and we want to do real estate digitization. That's and
Which is a legal description, photos, and documentation. That's what we're talking about.
yes, and it's something that we're very, very interested in, and we want to talk more about all the ideas you have and how to integrate.
And also part of our program, using your smartphone, you can scan your birth certificate, you can scan your passport, you can scan your driver's license, you can scan your university graduation certificate, your marriage license, and you can start uploading this into a cloud, again, value, because, for example, in the Philippines, they had this huge tsunami back in the early 2000s, I can't remember the date, and it wiped out everything. And all of the county courthouse records of the legal descriptions and who owned what for the whole island were washed away. But if you had it digitized, GBack, it's a value that you're bringing.
It's a brilliant mind. What you saw, we need to solve a problem, and cryptocurrency can do that. It was created to trade anything and everything. They're building everything out with different cryptocurrencies. and they still haven't solved the real estate one yet. And this
might be the answer.
This could be a solution,
Yeah.
and we need a proof of concept of it.
Yeah, and to do that, we need to find a volunteer and or somebody that was willing to take Gback dollars or coins for payment to get started. And we create a training video on YouTube where they figure out what to do. We go through a proof of concept, and then we start the process, and then it starts growing and becomes organic. And all of a sudden, you've got a Wikipedia of people pitching in information, building the database, and then the government comes and we say, hey, we've got this digitized, and guess what, guys? Everybody take a deep breath. You get to charge property taxes.
We can pay you tax
With
Gback.
That's
the currency
point.
of giving.
That's right. And then all of a sudden it becomes the predominant coin of the realm internationally, and now you've got a ways to really do things.
One of our partners always said this about our project that he saw is that crypto, Bitcoin, all these coins, they're not. What is crypto? It's cryptocurrency, and they're not being used as a currency, but Giveback and Gback is.
Yeah.
We're turning it to what it really is. It's a cryptocurrency. We pay our employees in Gback. We pay everybody in Gback. We use it as a currency. You're going to be buying real world assets with Gback.
Yeah, and what's interesting, I try to explain to people, I hold up a $20 bill, and I said, everybody, this looks like paper, but in reality, it's a currency, a cryptocurrency. Look at the number on the bottom of the bill. There's no other piece of paper with this and that number for that $20 bill. So people need to understand and get their heads around, we don't need paper. We really don't. When I Zelle you or Venmo you, we didn't talk. No cash exchanged hands. We just did that digitally, instantly, and that's the platform we're trying to build. Is where people. Now let's talk about this real quickly because we got time to do this. It's important because a lot of times with the Bitcoin, it was done on the dark web. Let's be honest. Let's put all the dirty laundry on the table, and there were a lot of nefarious things, bad things happening. But this you have a tracing, you have a blockchain system with visibility. Tell us about that.
Crypto is still relatively new. There is corruption in it, just like anything. Banks get robbed, right? So there are some things you'll see online about crypto, but it's only going to get better. But once education will protect the public.
Yeah, and there is a digital paper trail, crumbs. People need to understand that. And Bitcoin, a lot of it, people have registered and are anonymous, and you really have a hard time finding out who they are. Although with the newer, you have some sort of banking information. I oftentimes say, if you want to donate $2 million, you can do that anonymously. God bless you. But if you want to steal $2 million, we need to know who you are. So there needs to be a line of registration, transparency, regulation. I know crypto people, Bitcoin people hate the word regulation, but there needs to be some sort of connection with the banking department. And what we're trying to do is keep the U.S. dollar as the currency of the world. That's important. And then you guys can help do that.
Absolutely. And so Giveback Ventures, we're onboarding nonprofit, we're onboarding companies to hold our treasury. They all need to fill out forms.
There you go.
So we're qualifying those big holders in the project. Same thing with our ambassadors. People will make aware of registration, but we're going to control that.
Yep.
So we're the ones that are going to
regulate
because the government's not.
You have to have transparency. You have to have a paper trail. We can't be sneaking around on the dark web. Let's just stop that, everybody. Seriously. We got to be honest with each other, especially when we're trying to do something good. And let's keep it transparent. And again, you can trace this stuff. Again, how can people get a hold of you, Aaron?
Guys, Gbackcoin.com. All of our socials on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Gbackcoin.
Yeah, and the key also is we're going to use this to change the world. We really are. Appreciate you guys coming down. Very excited. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. We got to go. See you next week.